Hello students, this is Brock Skaggs and make this video demonstration of some basic SolidWorks modeling concepts here. And so the component we're going to try to model is this model that's based off of a solder station that I have at home. And so you can see not all the details are here. You don't have the knob to adjust the temperature setting on the iron itself. There's also a toggle on-off switch as well, but it should give us enough geometry here to play with in terms of modeling. And so here's the isometric view as usual. Notice in the title block we're going to use ABS for the material and the IPS unit system here. So the length units you'll see as inches. And so if we go over to sheet 2, I'll zoom in a little bit just in case it shows up a little bit small on YouTube. But here are the views that I've got in my sheet 2 of the drawing there. And so I've got the usual front, top, and right views, as well as a detail view A, which you can see in the top right hand corner, and also section view BB there, you can see in the lower right hand corner there. And so using all these dimensions, you should be able to recreate the geometry there. And so as usual, if you want to pause the video at this point and model all of the features as a test for yourself, go ahead and do that. And if you're looking for the mass properties, you can see I'm saying the origin placement is arbitrary, so we can't really use center mass, but the overall mass of this part with ABS plastic should be 1.34 kilogram, or excuse me, 1.34 pounds, excuse me. And so that'll be the target that we're looking for at the end. So with that information, let's go ahead and get started. And so I'm going to go ahead and hop right into a part template inside of SolidWorks. Since the origin placement is arbitrary, I'll probably put it in this very back left-hand corner of the top view there. And then for my first feature, what I'll do is just draw this profile that you're seeing in the right view and extrude it out the 1.75. That'll give me a good base feature to go off of. Also, I'll try to keep this isometric view consistent, and so when I go to make that first sketch, which is going to be the profile in the right view, I need to make sure that I'm on the right plane. And so to do that, I'm just going to go right into right plane, just select it from the tree structure, and go to new sketch there. So now I'm in a sketch in the right plane, and so looking at all the dimensions on the right view should give us enough information to fully define this sketch. And so let's just go right in here. I'll start with the line tool. I notice I'm using the right mouse gesture. I'm just holding right mouse down and flicking my mouse, not very much at all, but either in the vertical, horizontal, or downward directions. And you can see the different tools I have right at my fingertips there. If you haven't seen that before, you can customize that and increase the number of tools if you want, but I usually just have been using the defaults there. And so here's my rough structure. I've left out the rounds or fillets here, but that should be enough to get started in the dimensions. And so some of the dimensions: overall width 5.625, 5 5/8. So just go ahead and apply that smart dimension. 3 inches is this length here. 3.5 is the overall height. And so again, I'm just toggling back and forth through the drawing and picking out the dimensions I can find. As far as the height of this point here, if I go over to section BB, it appears at 0.5. You can see that point right here, as well as the bottom of that pocket, I believe are on the same plane, so both 0.5 inches above the bottom surface of the part. 3.875 right here to this tip. And 2.875 to where that used to be the corner point, and then we put a round on it of 1, and so this length is 2.875. And at the bottom, a similar idea here, and 4.75 is the length of this segment. So very quickly here, we've got a sketch that's fully defined at this point. Let's go ahead and put in some of the fillets in here. And so we'll use the sketch fillet for that, which is right up here in the sketch tab of the command manager. And so first, the bigger one on the bottom has a radius of 2. And so I'll just go sketch fillet, adjust the radius of the fillet in the fillet parameters. And I'm just going to select the 2 lines that intersect at that point and put a radius of 2 there. So if I kind of move it off, you can see it kind of extends the lines out here as kind of construction pieces to show the 4.75, and then I've got the arc over top of it with a radius of 2. And we'll do a similar thing at the top with a radius of 1. So again, back to sketch fillet, now just adjusting the fillet radius to 1. And applying the fillet. And let's go ahead and do it one more time to create this smaller fillet here in the top right hand corner. If you look around the drawing, you won't see a value for that as far as a dimension showing that. And so you look at the global notes and it says unless otherwise specified, the rounds of fillets have a radius of 0.15, and so that includes this one right here. And so again, we'll go to sketch fillet, once again adjust the fillet radius, and here instead of selecting the two lines, I'm going to select the point itself. That's another way to generate the sketch fillet, is just to select the vertex instead of the two intersecting lines. And so again, everything is black. I've got a fully defined sketch, so now I'm ready to leave this sketch and go into the first boss extrude. But one thing to note before we go there, you can see some of these values have been rounded in the display. This was 2.875, this was 3.875 here. If you select one of them, notice in the primary value it does hold the total value as far as 3.875 without any rounding. And also, if I wanted to, I could go in the precision and tolerance area of that individual dimension and adjust it to 3 decimal places. You can also play around with the template settings or the document property settings and adjust it at that point as well. And so I have my nice fully defined sketch. We'll extrude it 1.75. I said earlier that I wanted the origin to be in this bottom or top left-hand corner of the top view, and so that'll play into this direction for extrude, and I extrude it. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control 7. That's the shortcut to get to the isometric view. I'll go right to Extrude Boss or Base, come to down the tree and select the sketch. And here's where we have to make a decision. If I go to the front view, am I extruding this by pulling the sketch to the right or to the left? Here, if we want the origin to be in this very back corner right here, I obviously need to pull it in the positive X direction, or to the right, if you will, from the front view in order to have that happen. And so that's the thought process that I'm running through right now. The value that I want is a blind extrusion of 1.75. And so there is the initial base feature. It has that nice gray appearance to it, which reminds me that, hey, I have not yet applied material. And so I'll go ahead and apply the material. It is ABS. So I'll right click on the material, edit material. ABS is a plastic. And so I'll go into the plastics folder, and I've got ABS right there. And so I'll go ahead and apply that to the model before I go much farther. Alright, so we've got our initial base feature, kind of going back to the ISO here. What's next? I'll probably create this geometry here for the tray area, and then I've got the pocket where you put your sponge. And so it's going to be a very easy sketch to create that, because you can see a lot of the contours of the tray area are the same contours, same profile as the extrusion we just had. So here what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to be able to use convert entities to get most of these lines and draw one horizontal line, apply a dimension, and I believe I'll get to a fully defined sketch with just that. And so that'll be the idea. Here I'll just go ahead and make a sketch on this face right here. So select the sketch icon. And so now we'll use convert entities. So convert entities here, you can see the tooltip that converts selected model edges or sketch entities into sketch segments. And so I'll go to convert entities. And here I'm just going to select the edges I want. So I'm just walking my way around the model. I want all those edges, but I don't really care about the ones at the top. I'll hit OK. And you can see they have now been converted into sketch entities, either lines or arcs in this case. I'll draw my one horizontal line, connecting it all the way across. And now I don't need anything above that horizontal line. And so I'll use the Trim Entities tool. I like Power Trim to trim off those items. Notice all I did was drag across there. The height of this tray is 1, so apply my 1-inch dimension. And just as promised, I have already arrived at a nice, fully defined sketch for myself there. So we're in good shape. We'll need to extrude it, but how far do we extrude it? Well, the extrusion depth needs to be a value such that its overall width of the part is only 4.5. And so I could do the math here, 4.5 minus the 1.75, and get that value. Or I can do something in the extrusion, which is offset from surface, and we'll try to do that. And so what I'll do is I'll go straight from this fully defined sketch, I'll go to Boss Extrude. Instead of entering the blind value and having to do the math, here you can actually have SolidWorks do the math. I can put in the value 4.5 minus 1.75 here, and SolidWorks does the math and finds out, hey, that needs to be 2.75. Or I could also come in here and I could go offset from surface instead of blind. So if you go offset from surface, you have to have a reference surface. That'll be this guy right here. The offset value, I want it to be 4.5. Let's try toggling it to the other direction, and that looks appropriate there. And so now, no matter what happens to the thickness of this first extrusion, it's always going to pull this tray extrusion out far enough so that you always have a 4.5 inch overall width of the part there. And so this is a part of what you'll read about as far as capturing the design intent inside of SolidWorks. If you haven't used that command a lot, you might want to go to the Evaluate tab, go Measure, and measure the overall width there by selecting, for instance, that edge to confirm that you have arrived at 4.5 inches as the overall width of the part, which is good in this case. If we check here, I'll put it in ISO by hitting Control 7. Go to the isometric view there, and we're looking to be in pretty good shape. So now let's create that pocket that we have for the sponge. And so getting back to the PDF drawing here, there's the pocket geometry. It's just a rectangle, and so we'll base a lot of our geometry off of the top view here. And so here I'm just going to select the face that I want to create the pocket from and use that as my sketch plane. Start a rectangle tool and just roughly draw the rectangle here. So now looking at the dimensions, you've got 1/4 inch offsets left and right. And so I'll put 0.25 here. I could put a hard value of 0.25 here, but instead I'm just going to hit equals and select the other dimension. And so that creates an equation-driven dimension. The nice thing about this is it'll center it for me now. And so here, no matter what value this becomes, notice that everything's always centered left to right on that tray surface there. And I'll set it back to 0.25 there. 1 inch offset from what would be this top edge, and 5 inches from the top edge to the bottom edge of the tray. So that dimension right there. Again, nice fully defined sketch. This time we're going to be removing the material, so it'll be a cut extrude. And if you remember, the overall height of this was 1, so it'll just be a 1/2 inch blind cut extrusion to create that pocket. And so I'll go ahead and exit the sketch, put it in ISO. The features here will go to Extrude Cut. The sketch was already selected, so it brought it right into Cut Extrude. And we'll go down a 1/2 inch here. And so by accepting that, now I've got my pocket for the placement of the sponge. So we're getting fairly close. One thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put in the rest of the rounds. And so they all have a radius of 0.15, so I'll just go to Feature Fillet now, which is right here from the Command Manager if you didn't see that. I'll just accept the default constant size fillet, 0.15 for the fillet radius. And now I can go and start selecting my edges. And so here, I didn't want the face, I want this edge, this edge, this edge here, this edge, and this edge. And so just examining the preview before I accept, and I believe that is correct. And so now we just have the series of cuts at the top of the solder station here. And so one thing you'll see, okay, a lot of the dimensions are in the detail view. And so if I look at it, the first cut is 0.625 or 5/8 inch off this back surface. Also, I believe there's a total of 14 of them. 7 rows of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes. And so you've got these in a nice grid-like pattern, so hopefully that's screaming to you, let's use linear pattern here. You wouldn't want to create individual cut extrudes for each one. You'd want to create a seed feature and then just have that seed feature repeated over and over again in the pattern there. And so my seed feature is actually going to be the first row of these cut extrudes, and then I'll pattern it 7 times, or 6 times, to create a total of 7 instances. But another problem we'll see here is how am I going to create the initial seed feature? That's going to be a extrude cut, but I don't have a plane right now to make for my sketch plane. And so you can do things with playing on where you make the sketch and where the cut extrude actually start, but I try to avoid that. So instead what I'll do is I'll create a reference geometry plane. And so again, the issue is right now those are my regular front, top, and right planes. I know those are in the correct direction because basically I'm looking for a plane that runs somewhere right in here. And so the way I'll fix that is I'll go to plane. I can select this back face, and notice automatically if I just select the back face, it's going to create a plane that is parallel to that face but offset a certain distance. Here offset 0.625 is correct, but I need to flip it because I want it to be into the material of the part there. So just flipping the offset. I've got a nice fully defined plane, so I'll accept it. And so now my plane 1 here will be the sketch plane. So I'll just click plane 1 and start my sketch. Again, if you look at what the sketch will look like, a lot of the contours are going to be already created from the edges of the model. And so here, this horizontal line, the arc, the vertical line, same thing on the other side, I can all get that from the Convert Entities tool. And so that's exactly what I'll do for my first step. I'll go to Convert Entities, I'll select the edges that I want. And so here, just working my way around the contours of the part, and hit accept. And so again, you can see the nice black edges of the, or black lines associated with the sketch entities, as well as the black arcs there. I'll hit Control A tier to go normal 2, start my line tool, and really all I need to draw is 4 lines here. And so now to remove what I don't need, using trim entities, again I'm using power trim, so I'll just hold my left mouse down and run across the lines that I don't want. And so I removed the extra parts of the convert entities because really I just want these 2 areas here that'll be the basis for my cut extrude. One thing you'll notice that the heights of these need to be equal, and so I'll go ahead and use collinear here. So I just select the 2 lines and make them collinear. And also, it doesn't do like this, they are equal in width, so I'm just going to select those same 2 lines and make them equal. And so there's some of the geometry relations put in place. And then let's go to the detail view here. 1 inch is the separation distance between these 2 edges. The other dimension we don't have in the detail view. We need something that describes the depth of it. And so that'll come right here from the right view, 0.5 you can see. So with applying those 2 dimensions as well as all the other relations, we've got a nice fully defined sketch. So again, we're going to go exit the sketch. It's still selected. You can see sketch 4, so I'll go extrude cut. Here, which way do I need to extrude cut it? Well, if you look from the detail view, I'm already 5/8 of an inch, so I need to go forward to the interior of the part, and also the depth will be 0.06. And so I'll type in 0.06, and hitting accept creates the seed feature. You can see that nice cut geometry there. Last but not least, we need to pattern that, right? We need to pattern that for a total of 7 instances. And so what I'll do here is I'll go to linear pattern. First thing I need to do is define the direction. I can do that with an edge on a part. And so here I'll select this edge that's going to run in the Z direction. I just want it one direction, so I can skip the direction 2. If I come down here to features and faces, what feature do I want to pattern? I usually try to do this from the tree structure. I want to pattern the cut extrude 2. And so I've already got 7 in here. What is the spacing? You can see that from the detail view. It's a 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. And so hitting OK there. Oops, didn't accept it. 0.25. There we go. Now it updates. And we have the nice preview here. So 0.25 is the spacing, a total of 7 instances. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 rows of 2, so that should be good. And we're patterning the cut extrude 2. And I'll go ahead and hide the plane 1 here. So now one last check. We'll go to the ISO again, just toggle back and forth. It appears everything is in order. And we'll go to the evaluate mass properties. And we are right around 1.34 pounds if I round to 2 decimal places there. And so I believe we've arrived at the geometry we've been looking for. Just quick check of the sketches as well. Yes, they're all fully defined there. You don't see any minus signs next to the sketch icons. So it looks like we're in good shape. So thank you for watching the video. I hope it helps you develop your SolidWorks skills.